What is up, guys? This is Mario, and you are listening to episode 9 of the Grown Up Pixels podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today. We got a good episode lined up. On this week's episode, we are going to discuss what I'm currently playing, loading screen, news, pixel memory, then a community question to end up the show. So sit back, relax, and let's get started. So what am I currently playing? As of lately, I've been playing Mario plus Rabbids. I recently found it on sale on the Nintendo eShop, and I got the gold bundle. I got it for like $42, $43. Now, I had never played the game before, but I've only heard positive things about it. So I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go in. You know, I haven't had a Mario game that's disappointed me yet. So I just went ahead and got the gold edition with all the DLC and stuff. So far so good. I'm actually liking it. I like strategy games, but in the past I haven't had a good experience with them because they take so much time and effort that I just haven't really messed with it. But this one feels different. It's fun, it's simple, it gradually introduces the new concepts and things in the game. So far I'm really liking it. And ever since like the beginning of this podcast, I've been playing Yakuza 6 or some Yakuza game. I'm still playing Yakuza 6. I'm making steady progress in the game. And the game's good. A lot of story, a lot of cool things in the game. It just takes time. It's a very like time consuming game. And when I'm tired from work or whatever else is going on, a game like that will sometimes put me to sleep, which is not good. But I've been on a good like Yakuza run, so I gotta keep going with that game. And lastly, Resident Evil 5 Mercenary Mode. This game is my like quick 15-minute, 10-minute game. I just come in, play it, and I'm done. And again, I have gotten all the S rankings with every character on every stage on the PS3 when it first came out, but I want to do it again on the PS4, and I've been recording and uploading all of my playthroughs with an S ranking or higher onto the YouTube channel and the Facebook group. So if you want to check those out, there's some strategy involved, but it's pretty cool, a lot of action. And yeah, those are the 3 games I've mostly been playing. I have been dabbling more on the Switch, and there's a game called Wizards of something. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I started playing that, and it's cool. It looks cool. It has that indie look. It is an indie game, I believe. But it's just so hard. Those games are difficult. And I like it. Again, it just kicks my butt every time though. So yeah, that's what I've been playing lately. For this week's loading screen segment, I'm going to be discussing my top 7 disappointing moments in gaming. Now, I recently wrote a blog post on this, and you can find it at grownuppixels.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes. So I'm going to briefly kind of talk about those moments. Number 7 was all the different versions of Street Fighter. I've been a huge fan of Street Fighter for the longest time, since Street Fighter 2, the arcade machine. And I started playing then. Little fact, the first character I ever used was Dhalsim. And I figured he'd be the best character to use because his arms and feet stretch so I can just win the match from a distance. Nope, that was a big mistake. But Street Fighter 2 had so many versions, right? And granted, back in the arcades, you didn't have these games at home, so you just go and you play whatever's there. Not a big issue. But once it made the transition to more home consoles and arcades began to die, that was kind of a thing for me. I'm one of those gamers that likes to have the best version of my favorite games, or at least of the games that I own for the most part. So for Street Fighter 2, they had so many. Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting Turbo, Super Street Fighter 2 The New Challenger, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, and you guys already know, I don't have to tell you. So many versions. And then when Street Fighter 4 came out, I bought that day one on the PS3 and liked it. Of course, it wasn't like a full game. There were so many characters and stages missing. They came out with about 4 or 5 different versions. Now, some of them were like free DLC, But then later on, if you were playing against someone and you wanted to use like a certain character or a stage or whatever, and they didn't have the same version or a compatible version of the game, then you basically couldn't do it. So that was always kind of a drag. But yeah, so number 7 would be all of the different versions of Street Fighter. They should just have that one Street Fighter, that's it, complete. That's it. But whatever. Number 6, having to wait 10 plus years for a real sequel to Kingdom Hearts 3. Now, I'm a huge Kingdom Hearts fan. The story is so confusing, but I'm still a fan. The gameplay's solid, it's simple. I really liked Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, back on the PlayStation 2 when I first went through them. But we've had to wait so long for Kingdom Hearts 3 on PS4. I know it recently got announced to be released in January, I believe, of 2019. So we still got about a little over half a year left to go. But geez, so many years, 10 plus years for this game. In the meantime, all we've had are all these like side games, handheld games. Even a mobile game, I think at one point, I'm not quite sure on that one. But so many different side games, and the story just keeps getting like convoluted and just tricky and just, I don't know what the heck's happening anymore. I'm sure there's YouTube videos that go in depth and explains it. Anyone who can explain that story clearly, that whole entire story, like, should get a PhD in something. They obviously know exactly what they're doing. They're good at research. But yeah, 10 plus years for the Kingdom Hearts 3 release. Number 5, Kojima leaving Konami. That one was a big one. Primarily because I've been a big fan of the Metal Gear Solid series. My first game was Metal Gear Solid 1. That's the first time I ever played Metal Gear Solid on the PlayStation 1. That's the first one that I ever got into. And that game just did new things. It brought in new experiences, and I'm not going to go in depth on the experiences. I don't want to ruin it for anyone that has never played it. But it was Kojima that ran the show. Like, that dude was on another level, right? And then I stayed with the series, with the second one, the third one, and so forth. And when he left, at that moment, you already know that Metal Gear is never going to be the same. As of recently, I've heard that there is a rumor going around that Konami is going to be releasing a remaster of Metal Gear Solid 1. So, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. There's always remasters coming out lately. But yeah, it's not the same anymore, and he was the driving force behind that. So yeah, that was number 5. Number 4, no Phantasy Star Online 2 in the West. I played tons of Phantasy Star 1 on the Dreamcast. I was back in high school. I think I might have been a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore. That was the first online game I ever played. I sunk, I think, maybe about 105 to 120 hours in that game. My memory card ended up corrupting, but I know I did over 100 hours. I love that game. Everything about it, the story, the co-op, playing with friends online, everything. I loved it. So then when I hear that a sequel's coming out and then it was in Japan, just waiting for that release. Nope, never came, never. And it came out, and I would watch a couple videos, but I was always hopeful that it was eventually gonna come out to the States. And I was so into that game, I would have bought any console. It could have been like some random no-name console that it came out on, I would have got it. But now that I'm saying this on the podcast, I kind of think maybe I should have just ran it on the Japanese servers or whatever. And I think the community has patched it so that it'll do English subtitles. I'm not sure. Someone could correct me if they know. Huge fan of that series, and I'm still waiting for Phantasy Star Online 2. If that game were to be announced, let's say for the Switch or the PS4 or something, I would pay $80 to $100 for that game. That's how badly I want it. It's just a great game. Number 3, having to wait 15 plus years for Shenmue 3. Now, I know Shenmue 3 has already been announced, and we've even seen some like demo or gameplay of it. And I gotta say right now, the last bit of gameplay and screenshots I saw, they look kind of weird. I don't know what to say about that. Long story short, I don't think this game's coming out till either 2019 or 2020. And by that point, since PlayStation already announced that the end of the cycle of the PS4 is almost like here, or it is here, that means they're already working on the next systems. We might get Shenmue 3 at the very end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle. That's going to be kind of a drag. I don't know how that's going to hurt sales, but I'm glad it's finally coming out, right? I played the first one on the Dreamcast, played the second one on the Xbox. I'm caught up with the story. I know exactly what's happening. Oh, but the HD remixes or something are coming out. So that'll be cool. Yeah, we shouldn't have had to wait 15 plus years. And I don't know how it happens, and I don't know the internal workings. But a game like that, it has such a strong fan base that it should have came out after part 2, maybe 2 years, 3 years later. So that sucks. That was disappointing. Number 2, this is a hot ticket item. What I always say, no respect for Wii U owners. Now, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet because I've talked about this with people, and there's a lot of mixed emotions and feelings on this. Me being one of them, right? So, all the people that supported the Wii U, we came in and we said, all right, this is Nintendo's new system. A little weird, little tablet. All right, we supported it. We bought games for it, but nobody else did. It was like the worst system. You would go months without ever playing a game on it. They did have some cool first-party games that Nintendo, was pumping out. My personal favorite was Pikmin 3. That's the first time I played a Pikmin game, and I loved it. That was my game of the year, 2014, I think. So all these people were supporting the system, and then we didn't get our return, right? We played the game, but it wasn't really, really supported by the industry. So then the Nintendo Switch is announced, and it comes out, and I have a Switch. Love it. It's a cool system. It's a little bit better than the Wii U and all that. But then you see these games, and this is kind of what gets me. A game that was on the Wii U gets ported over with all the DLC, and those are the extras, I think, that wasn't on the Wii U, right? So then you're like, I played this game and bought this game and supported the Wii U, but now it's coming out on the Switch with more DLC and $60. You can't help but feel a little bit burned there by Nintendo. I genuinely believe that most gamers want the definitive version of the games they buy. You want to have all the DLC. You want to have the best version. So, give an example. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. I know I mentioned it on that past episode. That's one. Toad's Treasure Tracker. That game was surprisingly good. And I'm tempted, right? I'm tempted to pick it up again. So, is the DLC or whatever extras they package in there worth $60 to someone that never bought the game? Sure. But what about everyone else? We're dumb to have supported Nintendo in that sense, right? But, I'll just leave it at that. I think that was very disappointing. I think if Nintendo wanted to, Nintendo always gets this pass, a Nintendo freebie. They can have horrible business practices, and it's cool, no problem, you're Nintendo, right? And it shouldn't be like that, because then they basically do whatever they want. But again, I'm not going to go too in depth, but I think you guys get how I feel about that. And my number one disappointing moment in gaming, the death of the Sega Dreamcast. I am a huge Sega fan. One of my buddies was the one who introduced me to the Sega Genesis and all of the games and all that good stuff. And when it died, I was it just came out of nowhere, right? And prior to the Dreamcast coming out, everyone talking about, but you should wait. Just wait for the PS2. Wait for the PS2. It's going to be better. It's going to have a Blu-ray player. I don't think Blu-ray players were even out yet. And I got the Dreamcast. Their marketing was spot on. I was able to go to Best Buy and play the game. It looked amazing. Sonic was on there, and everything was just so cool. So next level, right? And sure enough, I got one. I loved it. And back in those days, one of my little goals I had was to buy one video game every single week. And that's what I did. I went as far as when I had every game I wanted, I would go to the store, and just to stay true to myself and some weird little expensive promise that I made, I'll just try this game out. And I would buy games. I would take risks back then. Usually 90% of the time they did pay off. But it was awesome. It's like having the arcades in your house. Arcade Perfect ports, a lot of support from third-party companies. You had Capcom was all over the Dreamcast. And it was just awesome. It was awesome. And then to suddenly, boom, stopping production. And the minute I heard that announcement, first thing I thought was, oh man, I gotta get another Dreamcast. I gotta buy more games, like to hold them in storage and stuff. But I don't want to go too in depth. That was definitely one of my most disappointing moments. I wish the Dreamcast was doing so good too in the States. I wish the Dreamcast would have stayed and done so well that another system would have come out, but it is what it is. We just move forward. And that's it for Loading Screen this episode. Now for the news. Truth be told, I don't really have anything for news this episode. A couple of things I can say. The reason I don't have anything new is because anything major, if you're a fan of video game podcasts, you already know of it. But a couple of things that I can think of is you can now play Mario Kart with your Nintendo Labo. So that's cool. By the way, I don't think Nintendo Labo is doing as well as they anticipated, but I don't know the actual numbers. Mario Tennis came out. Looks cool. Plan on getting it. Nintendo and Xbox, they had some kind of like marketing where like they were playing together. PlayStation is not doing like crossover support or whatever the proper word is for Fortnite. And I don't play Fortnite. I played it like once or twice. Just not good at it, and I don't want to put in the work to get better at it, so And really, I don't have anything for the news this episode, so I'm gonna move on. Pixel Memory. This episode's Pixel Memory is kind of a sad Pixel Memory, but it's a memory nonetheless, right? So, I must have been maybe 5 years old or so, 5 or 6. I had an NES and I was at my grandma's house. I think I was playing something or I was watching cartoons, and my mom comes in through the front door. She has a bag. I think she went to Thrifty's, if you remember that store. Now it might be Rite Aid or Walgreens, I'm not sure which one, but that kind of a store. And I look at her bag, and through the clear bag, I can see what looks like a Ninja Turtle. I immediately jump off the couch and I go to her bag. I look in there and she says, "Damn, how did you know?" I look in the bag. It was the Ninja Turtles game for the NES. She had bought it there, maybe it was on sale, because my mom was not the type to spend a lot of money on games. So I get it. It just looks different, right? Because if you remember the cover, the turtles were all wearing the red, right? The red bandanas. And it was black. It was cool. It was a cool cover. So I get the game, put it into the Nintendo, and I start playing. It was different, right? It was different from what I was expecting. It was like a single turtle. And obviously, how is one person going to control 4 turtles? But I went through. That game was so difficult. But anyway, that's not the point of this Pixel Memory. So I had the game forever. Played it. And so I'm back home at my house, right? And I lived in an apartment, studio apartment. A lot of kids all around the area. So I go out and there's a group of kids talking about video games and stuff like that. And at this point, I had owned the game for a long time. And so we're talking about games, and I told them, "Oh, I have the Turtles game, this and that." And they said, "Oh, can I borrow it?" One of the kids, and he lived like right there or whatever. So then I said, like I was always hesitant. "Here, I'll let you borrow this game." They were gonna let me borrow Rygar, I think, if I'm saying that correctly. And I don't know what I was thinking. I said, "Sure, we can borrow." I didn't really even know this kid, and I was dumb. I was a dumb little kid, I guess. And like I said, I might have been 5 or 6. I was little. So I didn't tell my mom. I didn't ask or nothing. Or at least I don't remember. And we let each other borrow the games. And we said, okay, on Friday, come back and we'll just trade back. So sure enough, I go. I'm playing this game. I hated that game so much. I hated it. When it was time, I went back. He wasn't there. And then I tried back like every hour. Wasn't there. And I never got my game back at that point. And that was so sucky now that I think about it. Like, that was such a cool game, and my mom had bought it for me, and she never bought me really games. And it was the Turtles. It was just awesome. And here I am, because I made a stupid decision. I got this Rygar game, which I hated. I think I said that enough. I hated it. And so, yeah, I was stuck with that game forever. And of course, I don't know where it is now. It was so long ago. And I would play the game. I would try to make the best of it, right? And I was a little kid. It just sucked. I hated that game. If you like that game, please reach out to me and tell me why you liked it. Because I think it might be considered like a classic. Complete garbage in my eyes. But anyway, kind of a sad pixel memory, but a pixel memory nonetheless. And I want to do this little side note. If you happen to have a pixel memory or something you want to share, reach out to me. You can even like pre-record your audio or whatever you want to do yourself. I'd be more than happy to feature other people's pixel memories on the podcast. Reach out to me, email me, whatever, and let me know. And yeah, I'm super down if you want to. And that's the end of Grown Up Pixels Podcast, Episode 9. If you listen through the whole podcast, thank you very much for doing that. I really, really, really do appreciate you guys taking the time and listening to the podcast. It means a lot to me. Where can you find Grown Up Pixels? We're on iTunes, Google Play Music, Podbean, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Anchor.fm. And if we're not on your podcatcher, let me know and I'll try to get it wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us online on social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, all at Grown Up Pixels. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We have a YouTube page, Grown Up Pixels, and where I upload gameplay and anything that I'm doing. I always upload it to YouTube, and I also upload it to the Facebook page. So those are two places. And you can usually find everything Grown Up Pixels, including the recent blog posts. I've been working on my writing and I'm trying to do more blog posts. You can find on the website. I'm also going to be putting those on the Facebook page as well. So there's tons of places where you can reach out to me and get in touch, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the podcast. I do like hearing from everybody. And yeah, I like interacting. Thanks again for listening to Grown Up Pixels, Episode 9, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.